This is the most stacked lineup we've ever assembled. For the most credible, informed, and entertaining deadline show anywhere.
Yo, I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. So tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I'll tell you.
Welcome to the Wildcast Podcast, coming to you from Wildcast Studios, with your hosts Adam Lund and Jeremy Boucher.
All right, first-time guest on the show. Welcome to the Wildcast Podcast Trade Deadline Preview Show. Play-by-play voice for the Blainville Boisbriand Armada, Cedric Blondin. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Doing very well, very well. How are you?
I'm good. It's a Christmas break finally after a long time with hockey games, and so it was a long stretch. The first 33 games for the Blainville Boisbriand Armada. So finally, 10-day break. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, I think we can all agree with that. As much as fun as it is to be at the rink, it's always nice to get a little break in. But obviously, working for the Armada, things didn't go, I guess, as planned for your team in the first half. You were supposed to be, contenders with bringing in Josh Lawrence and bringing in Zach Bigger. I guess what happened in that first half that caused to be for the Armada to be kind of a bottom team this year?
The expectations were very high, like you said, but the fact that Patrick Gay never came after being acquired at the draft, and after that he was drafted in the NHL as a 20-year-old. That is pretty rare, and he signed a AHL contract, and now he's playing pro. So the fact that Patrick Gay, a guy who scored 55 goals last year, 12 goals at the playoffs or so, and never came because of an AHL opportunity, made these things very tough for the Blainville Boisbriand Armada this year. And if he was not coming, the other player who was in the trade was William Trudeau. And William Trudeau, the same thing. He was drafted by the Canadiens, and he started pro this year with the Rocket. So it's a top pair defenseman, a first D, if we can say, in Trudeau, or a 55-goal scorer. So it's a big losses, and everyone was not in the right chair. When your plan is to have these two guys, one of these, it's not the same. So there was a lot of missing pieces. Players were not supposed to be in the top six, were used on the top six, and I think you guys can understand what was happening. And after that, a lot of injuries, like everything, but a lot of injuries. Two players got mononucleosis, which is pretty rare. And after that, it was tough, and nothing's going well thus far. But it's hockey. That's what is fun about hockey, junior hockey, though. So we'll see for the next few months if the Armada can keep a spot in the playoffs. I think they will. It's pretty early to say, but I know a lot of players will come back from their injuries. They added some good players at the trade deadline, at the start of the trade period, and I think these guys are going to help.
So, I mean, obviously one of those players that was there was Cape Breton Eagle legend Josh Lawrence, and obviously he was there. He was part of the three that obviously you talked about. That was going to be a pretty good top six. Adding him, obviously that kicks off the rebuild. I mean, he had 32 points in 25 games for you, but you're able to move him for a first and a second, and then James Swan. Just talk about the impact that Lawrence had in the first half, and was that kind of the significant this is time to not even buy just to win around. Let's flip this thing and buy a few more pieces and just kind of rebuild this thing again.
Yeah, I understand the acquisition of Lawrence was a good trade, but in fact, he went pointless in his first 6 games with the team. So it's basically 32 points in 19 games after that. So it's really good. He had a pair of 5-point outing won against the Wildcats at the
We don't talk about
Center
that.
in
We don't talk
early
about
November.
that.
And so he was good, but at some point, the fact that the Halifax Mooseheads were looking for an overanger and were trying to be a better team, and he fits right there. And the fact that the GM just could have the price that he paid at the draft was the fact that he pulled the trigger for this trade. I think it was an obvious choice to pull the trigger because of the fact that he had the same price.
Yeah.
First rounder. After that, it's a second rounder, I think, and a fourth rounder who become James Swan, who was a pretty good player. He was a third liner with the Halifax Mooses, but I think he's going to be great with the team. He fits right with the identity that Bruce Richardson wants to put with this team.
We were given a question from our friend Jonathan Waugh up in Bathurst concerning Armada forward Antoine Leroy. He wants to know, do you think Antoine Leroy is kind of part of the future going forward with the Armada, or do you see him as another player that they could possibly trade during this trading period?
For my part, I really hope so. He stays with the team. He's progressed well. He's becoming a real good center who plays on the PK. He has a big body. He progressed well at the end of the year, but he got hurt in the playoffs against Drummondville, and after that, it was a really slow start this year. So he's becoming really good in the third line role thus far this year, and I don't know. I think he can put more points on the score sheet, but he has not a lot of points since he became an Armada. So I don't know. I just hope he's such a great kid. So for my part, I hope he stays because he was one of the last players cut in as a 16-year-old after his draft year. He was really good at the camp, and after that, I think the fact with the pandemic and everything, it slowed him down. Maybe he was sad that he didn't make the team that time, but the fact that in the Maritime some teams were playing made the choice easier for the Armada to let him play in 2020. So I just hope he stays. We'll see.
I guess in goal, I would appear you guys are probably set with Gravel and Sheehan. Moving forward, I usually like to talk about goaltenders at least because there's going to be a lot of movement in the 20-year-old goaltenders and teams that might miss on that. May call for Gravel do you see them sticking with these two and just letting them develop together because they are two different ages there, so you won't have to make a decision. But you kind of see them just kind of letting them grow together as a tandem and a group and keeping that continuity, or do you think if the price is right, I mean, Gravel could be on the move?
I think definitely it's going to stick. Because both of these guys are really good friends. They are the perfect tandem in my saying. You guys know Nick Sheehan. He's from Moncton,
Yep.
And he's such a great kid. He fits right with the core. He's always smiling, and there's a good competition between both of them. They're never fighting for playing time. I don't know if you understand what I'm meaning.
Yep,
And
yep.
they're just perfect together. I think Gravel's success since the start of the year is just after the acquisition of Sheehan last December. It's been great for Gravel. If you look at his stats since the arriving of Sheehan, just the impact is really good. So we'll see what happens, but I don't think so it's going to change. I think the Armada are going to keep Gravel for a long time until he is a 20-year-old, and Sheehan is going to stay. I just hope he's going to stay too because he's progressing really well after a rough start of the year. He didn't play for a 2-week stretch from late October to mid-November. He worked hard with the goaltender coach Maxime Vaillancourt, and after that, the fact he progressed well, and the results are becoming stronger. He's He's at 896 as a save percentage. That is not bad with a team with 16th in the league as of now. So I think he's gonna stay, and he just works so hard at practice. When you work so hard, good things always happen sometime at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
Another player I want to talk about on Blainville is Braden Schmidt.
Yeah.
Is he a player that you see as a key piece going forward, or is he another player that could possibly be dealt at the deadline here?
Now be careful. He's Jeremy's favorite player.
Yeah,
he's been talking about him at the draft.
Yeah.
One of the other deadlines. Like, just be careful what you answer here, because he's Jeremy's favorite guy.
He's been on my radar for a couple of years.
He's such a great kid. He had some hard times in his life with his family and everything. I don't know if you guys heard about it. He's such a great kid, but I think he's gonna stay. They gave him the captain, and if the Armada want to be good in 2 years, I'm speculating, they could have overager trio of Fauchon, who has a great year, 42 points in 33 games. He already surpassed his career high, and he's 18-year-old. And after that, you have Gravel and Schmidt. Imagine having this 10 trio for a 20-year-old. I think it's pretty good. And after that, you have players at 19 like Alexis Book, Justin Boissel, and everything. So you have a piece on defense, a piece on goaltender, and a piece as a forward. So I think it's the thing. And I don't think they could trade him, because if they give him the C as an 18-year-old, I think the plan is to have him for a long, long time in Blainville.
Sorry, Jeremy.
That's okay. I'll keep
We'll
dreaming.
see. Everything can change.
Yeah.
It's hockey. So if there's an offer, he can't refuse. We don't know.
Well, that's
we
it.
don't know.
Yeah.
It's a long way from January 9th after the World Juniors. So.
And we saw that
We'll
here
see.
with with Iasenza, right? Like, I don't think anybody expected him to be traded, and Victoriaville just stepped up with an offer that
Couldn't refuse.
Richie Thibault couldn't refuse, and next thing you know, he's off to play for the Dig. So you never know.
And the fact that Iasenza was traded is just because the Wildcats have so much young defensemen with Etienne Morin, Nathan Grenier. I don't have all the names in front of me, but just the young defensemen were playing good thus far. So I think it's gonna make some place from them to have more playing time. And I think at that price, he didn't have the choice to pull the trigger again.
Yeah, it's one of those. If you asked any fan about who had top value, I don't think Iasenza would have been up there on many offers or on many lists. But when you get the kind of offer, you almost you can't turn it down. We don't get a lot of Quebec media on here. In fact, you're the first. So A, we thank you. B, just kind of how do you see this trade period week for the going for some of the Quebec teams? I mean, obviously Quebec added Robidas. Gatineau just added LaPena, Victoriaville, Iasenza. They kind of come out of nowhere and are appearing to add. I know Shawinigan's got some pieces that they would like to move, but just how do you see the rest of this week shaping up for some of the Quebec teams, since we don't really get a lot of Quebec media, and so we're going to get your opinion on it.
You're missing one team, one big team. Yeah, they're
Probably.
Sherbrooke Phoenix they added Marc-André Godet, they added Olivier Adam, Andrew Belchamber, and there's some rumors that Jacob Brabenetz will be there after the World Juniors. So if they do pull the trigger for Brabenec, there's unconfirmed reports about this. They're going to be a good team with Joshua Roy already, Justin Gill, David Spacek, name them, Ethan Gauthier.
Yeah.
They are really, really good. Add all these 4 players and maybe more to this team. I think they could be the favorites in the Quebec side. And you talk about Victoriaville, maybe they're not done too. We'll see. I not heard of anything, but it's a fact. It's a fact. When you pay that price for a 18-year-old defenseman in Francesco Iasenza, maybe they're going to push. They have one of the best goaltender in the league in Nathan Darvaux, and one of the best, if not the best, defenseman in Pierre-Olivier Roy. And but Gatineau, I have to talk about Gatineau because this morning they pulled the trigger on the Francesco Lapena trade. Nobody was seeing that coming at that point. There was going elsewhere, but that's a big time trade from GM and coach Louis Robitaille. So, and they added Alexis Gendron, a player I know very well, as he scored 22 goals so far this year. He's been there since I'm there as a play-by-play. So there are two pieces, and there's still a lot of pieces were not traded thus far. What the Titan will do with Riley Kidney, Jacob Melanson, these are big questions, big questions heading in the next 2 weeks as the trade period. So in the Quebec, you talk about the Rempart, and they added Robida. That was the worst
Worst kept secret. Yeah.
that was going to the Rempart. So we'll see. We'll see, but I was not that impressed about the Rempart so far this year when they played against the Armada. We'll see. We'll see what happened. I think they're not the favorites in Quebec, but maybe that's a hot take.
Yeah, I think I was the only person that had. Well, I had Lapena to Gatineau in the preseason at the Christmas trade period because they were my pick, and I knew they needed goaltenders. So I was like, that's their goaltender they go get, and I really feel good about that pick. After yesterday, this will come out today on Tuesday. So after Monday's trade pick.
But the problem is Gatineau are going to be good next year too.
Yeah.
And now they were hoping that Despatie will be their goaltender for the next 2 years, but he struggled mightily since last year, and they have that's what happened. So we'll see for the next year what they are going to do. Maybe they're just going to do everything to win this year, and maybe not this next year too. Yeah. We'll see. It's hard to say at this point because when you acquired a 20-year-old goaltender like Lapena, you don't have him for next year. So, but we'll see.
Yeah, you always know that there's always something up Patrick Waugh's sleeve. He'll always there's always a surprise in Quebec. One last question from us there, Cedric, before we let you go there. I'll ask you the same question I've asked everyone we've had on this show. Your answer will probably be your own team because it has been for everybody. But just who have been your, I guess, biggest surprises and the biggest disappointment, I guess, if you want to put it that way, in the first half?
Oh my God, that's a good question. I would answer the Victoriaville Tigre
yeah,
as
5 the big surprise, because last year they didn't make the playoff. They just added Thomas Bellegarde and a few 20-year-old, and they are now in the top of the standings. So I think Cal Mahet has been really good as a coach there. The GM Kevin Coutier has made good trades like he did for a long time. When they won in 2020, they almost never. They had some pieces, but not big pieces. It's just Alex Bocage, but for a ridiculous price. And we'll see what happened for the TIG, but that's my surprise. But the disappointment, you told it's the Armada. Everyone was thinking they were going to be a contender, but it's not the fact. So
no, that's 5 for 5 on the biggest surprise and 5 for 5 on the biggest disappointment. So that doesn't really surprise us.
We actually had Willie Paloff of Halifax, the media there, and he talked about how he probably would have had those two teams switched between Victoriaville and you guys at the start of the season, like just where they are in the standings compared to. But when everyone's got a plan, if a couple things don't go your way, I mean, that can really put a jinx on the plan. But obviously, Cedric, we very much appreciate you jumping on the show with us tonight to help us kind of give a thought on your team as well as some of the Quebec teams. And hopefully we can do this again maybe before the playoff time. You're now a friend of the show. Congratulations, and we just hope you have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you for you too, and Merry Christmas to you all and to all your listeners. And thank you for the invite. For sure, if I'm needed, I will be there.
Done. Penciled you in. All right, Cedric, thank you. All right, and we move from Cedric, a longtime listener, first-time caller, to a longtime caller, all-the-time listener, and your favorite and voice of one of our drops on the show from Bathurst Slapshots Podcast, Mr. Johnny Rocket, Jonathan Roy. How are you doing on this, 4 days before Christmas week there, sir?
I'm doing great. And what about you guys? I'm just curious how many money you have left, Jeremy.
Oh my God, man!
We can't reveal that. That'll be revealed tomorrow's episode. That will be revealed tomorrow's episode.
Yeah, there's still, we're counting. We're on the 11th hour here, and there's still some purchases that need to be done. Probably going to wait till payday on Friday. Get everything done on the 23rd in classic Boucher fashion.
Classic man
because
fashion.
if I wasn't married and I was still single, my Christmas shopping would be start and done on the 23rd. So it's good that sometimes you have a wife around that actually gets things done for you ahead of time.
Well, smart man.
All right. I'm going to start in goal. I know everyone wants us to start with the two main names, but I'm going to start with in goal. Jan Bednar. Obviously he hasn't been there for most of the first half. Just, I guess, talk about what's happening with that situation. Will he be back? Or will they be moving him? Like, what do you think on that situation?
Well, I don't have any concrete information, but the last time I heard anything related to Jan Bednar is it's a really weird situation. From what I heard, he got some sort of odd infection in his arm. His arm was 3 times the size of the other, and Batters was not able to figure what's going on. So the Red Wings, which he's drafted took care of him, and I guess that he might be out for the rest of the year. So that's really not ideal. But at the same time, officially yesterday, we started our 0.0 cycle for the rebuild. So obviously it kind of sucked because I thought that before Christmas he would have helped us a lot, but he was there maybe for a third of the games. So if it's confirmed that he's done for the year, I hope that they will know, because that will leave a free spot for a 20-year-old and a free spot for a Euro. Not saying that they will fill both spot, but definitely the 20-year-old spot would be nice to be filled, especially with a really young core team after Christmas. Some good veteran would be nice to at least put some puck in the net, because that might be an issue after Christmas. But yeah, as for Bednar, in my book, he's gone. But is that 100% sure? No, it's not as of now.
All right. So just to follow up, will they go, if he's done for the year, is it a 20-year-old goaltender? If he's not quite sure, will they acquire a goaltender or stick with Fleming and Litvinov and just kind of ride it out with those two?
I honestly think that they will stick with Fleming. I think he's our goalie of the near future. And Litvinov, he wasn't amazing, but he did the job. At a certain point, he was a number one goalie of our team, and he still won us some games. And I don't see the point of wasting some picks or some prospect on a goalie. And we already know that we won't win a lot of games after Christmas. Rebuild is officially on. So what's the point of wasting, a third or fourth round pick or a mid-tier prospect for a guy that we will have maybe for 30 games? So from what I see, they should go with Fleming and Litvinov, but maybe Dwyer has another option up in the air, but I haven't heard anything. So I'm pretty sure they will go with Fleming as their number one and Litvinov as a backup.
I think it would be a surprise if we didn't ask about the two big guns in Bathurst that are clearly available. Riley Kidney and Jacob
Are
Melanson.
they available?
Well, that's what I heard.
Hey, we wanted Le Pen out of the division, and that worked out. So
it's Halifax had an opportunity to trade a couple of their guys the past couple seasons, and they held on to them. So, but I think it's pretty obvious that both will be traded potentially, maybe sooner rather than later. Between the two, what sort of return do you think? I guess Bathurst will get, and will it be? Do you think it'll exceed your expectations and hopes, or do you think it'll be, I guess, below what you were hoping?
Well, I can confirm 110% that they will be traded. That's not even a thing. It will happen. There's a couple of rumors. Obviously, Gatineau is in the mix for everybody. So obviously, Melanson and Kidney are in the mix in Gatineau. Some people are saying Halifax is really interested in Melanson. Some people are saying they're really interested in Kidney. Sherbrooke is also in the mix. I heard somebody say that Quebec was really looking at Kidney, but obviously with the acquisition of Robida that we already knew like months ago, and Agostino and Darcy, I don't think that they have anything good to pay Kidney. So I don't know where they're going to go. I don't know if they're going to go their separate ways. They're going to go in a big bundle. They're going to go in a 3-team trade, but they're definitely going. For myself, I don't know if Dwyer has the same opinion as I do, but for myself, Kidney, anything below 3 first-rounder or 2 first-rounder and a top prospect drafted like in the first round, you don't trade him. But I'm sure that they will get that for him. And as for Melanson, you guys already know he's my favorite player. I love him from the bottom of my heart. He's been drafted by the Kraken. So I probably love him more than most people. But for me, if we don't get a first-round pick and a really good player in return, I think we're missing out on something. I saw a rumor that the team, I'm not going to name anybody's, but they offered 2 second-rounder and a veteran guy. That could probably be good for me, depending who are the second-round pick. If they're like that, Quebec and I don't know, like Sherbrooke, well, they're basically third-round picks, so never mind. But if they are like, I don't know, like Cape Breton or Saint John or whoever is at the bottom of the standing, I would probably say yes at that. So overall, I'm expecting like 3 to 4 firsts for both of them and maybe a top prospect and a veteran player. But the more we wait, the less ammo that teams have, because other than Halifax, I mean, yeah, they paid a few round picks for Lawrence, but they haven't made any big deals. But Gatineau paid a lot for their trades. Sherbrooke paid a lot for their trades. So I'm kind of anxious to see when it's going to happen. Hopefully sooner than later in my book, because the longer we wait, the less asset teams that want to go all in have. So I hope that Dwyer realized that. I'm sure he's not stupid, but yeah, we'll see.
I think you could probably, you could package both of them technically to Halifax.
It feels like a McIsaac and a Grew trade to Halifax,
that's it,
where
because if
you're
you
going to
do
get something, and then you're going to get. It's not going to be done till after the draft, so everyone in Bathurst is going to freak out and then have to calm down.
I actually heard something coming out of Halifax. I mean, Dwyer don't want to deal if Catafort is not in the mix, and I guess Halifax said there's no way that guy is being dealt.
And that's what you talked about last week.
Yeah.
Well, it's dealt now. You could easily.
Oh, no, now he would obviously go at the draft.
Yeah, that's it.
For
right?
sure.
Like it is almost like Grew and McIsaac, where you'd almost have to include your 2 top prospects, which would be Catafort and McKinnon, and it's you could almost say the same thing, and with Gatineau, and maybe get a Sam Savoie next year in Bathurst, but it's. would that make sense for Bathurst? Because it's not like he's going to be a
No.
19-year-old next year, right? So that doesn't kind of fit
Well,
into their unless they flip
For me,
him.
Halifax.
Well, then you can,
if
yeah.
they
But then if you get an 18-year-old next year like Savoie, you can flip them to add more to a package for future years.
Well, Savoie will be 19 next year.
Yeah, so you get
Yeah.
Savoie at the draft, but then you flip them
Yeah.
next
At
Christmas,
Christmas.
right?
Yeah.
So you're basically doubling your assets. So there's several opportunities here that a team like Halifax could pull it off. Gatineau could pull it off. I mean, if you look at Sherbrooke, the only piece that would make sense going back to Bathurst would be Ethan Gauthier, but he was a first overall pick. That would actually lower, the value of those two players, right? So it's these contenders can pretty much do whatever they want because they've got the pieces to do it as futures, and just Quebec. I mean, Quebec doesn't really have prospects that jump off the page at you.
No.
Right, so it's if you were to ask me, it's if it's a package deal, it's going to be those three teams right there.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I hope they're not being dealt together because in my book, when it's a package deal, well, obviously you get a deal, so you get less.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I just hope that Kidney is going somewhere and Melanson is going somewhere else because I just don't like the package deal kind of option because it's sure you will get less. It's just common sense. So, but if I could just pop a guess, my guess is that Melanson will go to Sherbrooke and Kidney will go to Halifax.
That's fine. Like,
That's
as
my-
long as
that's my
I
guess.
got one of the two. As long as LaPena was gone and Melanson was out of the division at the end of the trade deadline, I was good. On defense, I mean, your captain Cole Larkin, 20-year-old, is he kind of staying to mentor some of your rookies, or is he one of those 20-year-olds that may be an impact guy on a championship team if they miss out on a couple others?
Well, unless a team call last minute in a panic, I don't see Larkin leaving the Titan. I think he will just stay here, finish his career as a captain, and be a mentor, like you said, to some younger guys.
Yep.
Because if you just look around the league, like the team that are buying, they don't really have any spots for a 20-year-old like Larkin. Obviously, a team that needs a better 20-year-old will get a better 20-year-old, not a Larkin. But I'm kind of happy that Larkin will stay. Unless, a team called and offered like a second-round pick for him, well, go ahead. But I'm pretty sure he will stick around.
I would imagine he'll probably stick around, but we have 5 games before the deadline's over, so knock on wood. An injury could happen to a 20-year-old defenseman, and you need something real quick. Obviously, we like to talk about guys going out at the trade deadline. That's fun for fans to what we're gonna get, who is going, this, that. We have to talk about when you're on the appetite of the fans up there and whatnot, and starting 0-1 of the rebuild. But just give an idea of some of the young kids that are going to be playing extended minutes. Obviously, Phil Collette from the Flyers. I saw him quite a bit last year. Lallier, Clements, just some of these younger kids that are going to be playing some extended minutes in the second half.
Yeah, well, like you said, at offense, I'm pretty sure that after the break, Lallier, Colette, Dominic Bedin, and Noah Ryan will have some extra minutes, some longer shift, more shift for sure. And at defense, well, Ty Higgins, obviously, if he's not being dealt, because I guess there's some interest in him. And Harry Clemens will definitely be our best guys with Larkin. I sure hope that Émile Perron stepped up. Well, not step up because he actually played good, but I just hope that he gets more ice time. And in net, obviously, Fleming will be our young. Well, he's 18. He's not that young, but our goaltender of the future-ish.
Yep.
Depending on who's getting traded where, I could see another guy, like another young, like 16 or 17-year-old popping in with the team and maybe having a shot at a top 9. So we'll have to see that. But in terms of players that are here now, that's the guy I'm seeing being utilized a lot. I haven't heard any, I haven't said anything about Andrews and Enderberry. It's just that they've disappointed me a lot this year, to be honest with you. So I know they will have major impact at offense because they will more than likely be the first two of the first line guy. But I hope that the younger generation will pop up and show some promising stuff in the second half.
All right, let's see if we can go 6 for 6. We've asked this on every show. You're probably expecting it. Your biggest surprise and your biggest disappointment of the first half.
Well, obviously, I listen every week to your show, so I knew that one was coming, and I wanted to be different. So, obviously, Victoriaville is the one, but I'm going to go with Rouyn-Noranda. They're 6 in the league, and just for the fun of it, can you guys name me their top scorer?
Is it Daniil Bourash?
Barash.
No, it's Tristan Allard.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
With 35 points. So, yeah, that team don't have any superstar, but they're pretty darn good. I mean, they're 6th in the league. So I'm going to go with Rouyn-Noranda, but obviously Victoriaville is amazing. I mean, 2nd in the league with what they have is pretty impressive, but that's where you see that goalie makes the difference because they have two pretty darn good goalies.
Well, that's what happens when you have Shea Maras across the street from the rink, right? Some of the best poutine in
As confirmed by Thomas Couture.
As confirmed by, we got Bernie Hashi. We've got it confirmed by Thomas Couture. We've got it confirmed by Richie Thibault. That's, you're right across the rink from the best poutine in Quebec. So that can only help your team succeed.
Mm-hmm. And what about your disappointment?
Well, I can say Blainville-Boisbriand, but I will go with Saint John. I was not expecting Saint John to be top gun for sure, but I was expecting them to crash after Christmas. I mean, for them to be last in the queue with some Byrne, Reynolds, McDonald, Trenholm, Desroches, Despont, Urtubise, that doesn't make any sense in my mind. So now that they will more than likely sell some guys, that's going to be awful in St. John after Christmas, for the love of God. So, yeah, I was expecting them to be, like, in a fight with the Titan, but they're, like, far gone. So, yeah, they're disappointing. But obviously, again, like the 5 other people on the show, Blainville, I mean, frig, man. I don't know what Cédric Blondin said or will say. I don't know if he already passed, but I don't know what happened there. It's a mystery.
It's the old everyone has a plan till you get punched in the mouth. And they had a plan with Trudeau, Patrick Gay, Josh Lawrence, and when 2 of those 3 didn't show up, that kind of puts you in a bit of a spiral. So,
yeah.
But we did ask your question. We will not reveal your answer. We will make you wait till tomorrow to hear the answer of your question that you wanted us to ask Mr.
Awesome.
Blondin. All right?
Awesome.
All right, buddy.
I have a question for you guys.
Uh-oh.
Shoot.
Just one. Just one.
Shoot.
The question is for Adam. If you were the Cat GMs, Adam, would you either trade Iasenza?
Somebody reads Twitter. Honestly, if you listen to the show, when Jeremy and I talked about moving to defenseman, I didn't want to move Iasenza. I thought he was going to be your number 4 with Morin, Grenier, Fortier, Gendron, and then Iasenza. So for me, I wouldn't have. But, A, I'm not paid to make these decisions. And B, when you get a package that's in front of you and it's that good of a package, you have to make the trade. So I don't fault him, but I personally wouldn't have. I thought he would have been our number 4 defenseman as a 20-year-old.
Yeah, but when I saw the return, I was like, Richie would have been stupid to say no to that.
Yeah,
so,
and and we're gonna get into that here in a few minutes on the return. Do you have just one question for me, or you got one for each of us?
No. That's all. Yeah.
All
I just
righty.
wanted to tease you.
Now I know you're like, get off the fence, you politician. But look, man, we really appreciate you taking the time again to to give us a chat, and hopefully you got all your Christmas shopping done, and we'll let you get
All
back
done.
to your TikToks.
Well, Merry Christmas to you guys. Merry Christmas to your listeners. Happy New Year, and can't wait to hear your your post trading season show.
We appreciate it, Johnny. Have a good night.
Have a good one. See you, man.
Well, I think that went swimmingly, sir. Like I said to Johnny Rocket there, and we talked about with Cedric, everybody has a plan to get punched in the mouth. And, I'm sure if we'd had a plan in 2019 to acquire Rodrigue and McKinnon coming back and this and that, and a couple things didn't happen, Richie's probably not acquiring like that. And, good on him for trying not to buy to add to Josh Lawrence and win a round. Just like, yep, we don't have it. Let's get our return back and rebuild this thing next year.
Well, that's it, right? I think it's pretty obvious that this team's probably going to win a round.
Yeah,
but I think they'll have trouble in the second round, and
as most teams will.
Yeah, right. Especially in
Us included.
the conference that we're in and all that jazz. I think it's safe to say that if we don't make it out of the first round,
they're playing Victoriaville right now via standings.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, isn't it conference though?
No? Yeah, conference. So they'd be the 8th seed in the conference. Because Cape Breton and St. John would miss the playoffs.
Isn't Victoriaville in the West though?
No, Victoriaville's in... Yeah, Blainville would play...
I was talking about Moncton.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Blainville. Got it. Never mind. We're good.
Well,
It's going to be a long night.
Yeah, it's going to be a long night.
Okay, you were talking about Moncton.
I was talking about Moncton.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Blainville.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, okay. So Blainville, yeah, they're done. They're out in the first round. But sorry, yes, I was talking about Moncton.
Yeah.
And I think it's safe to say like that we can win a round here, and but I think things may struggle in the second round, which is fine. You need as much playoff experience as you can possibly get, and at this point, I think we're probably playing probably Quebec in round 2, right? And it's so that would be a tough matchup, but
yeah, I think
you never know.
If you have a goal this year in the second half, and we'll get into that next week, it's to finish third. So you play Halifax, who you have had success against in this season early on. Because if you get fourth, you're playing Quebec because they're not getting upset. Either way, Quebec or Halifax is going to be tough. Do you really think Bathurst will have the dual trade to one team, or do you think they're going to split them? And what is more advantageous to?
Man,
because we've seen both sides. I mean, we've been on both sides of it. Fans in Halifax love the return they got for sending two players to a rival, but 2 players to one team. Fans of Moncton, not so much. Even though we acquired those plans, things could have happened differently. But I mean, is it smart to do it, or are they running out of time to do it with one team?
Honestly, I think if it's I think the best interest right now is a package deal. Yeah. Because what better way to have instant chemistry on your team than to go and acquire two forwards from the same team who've been playing together for 3 years, right? It's instant chemistry. It's and for any championship team, if you're bringing in players, if you look at, I hate to use us as an example, but St. John, when they've gone on their runs, they've brought in players who know each other from the past. It's like they build almost like a family where you're not bringing in cliques. You're not bringing in, you're bringing in players who are familiar with each other, that know each other, that have chemistry with each other, and that just helps your team win. And I think for Bathurst's best interest, it would be best to package them as a deal for that reason. If they divide them up, that's fine. But I think if a team says, look, this is an opportunity for us to get a Riley Kidney, which is probably a top line forward, and Jacob Melanson, I mean, he's someone that could be a perfect third line forward, or B someone that can easily step into your second line if that's where you want to play him.
Mm-hmm.
On a championship team, I think Jacob Melanson, on a stacked team, Jacob Melanson to me is a third line player.
And a perfect third line,
Well,
shut
that's it.
down,
Right?
in your face kind of player.
That's exactly right. He's a shutdown player. He's going to hit you. He's gonna absolutely terrorize defensemen on a forecheck, and that's why I think like if you're bringing Jacob Melanson in, your price. If you're bringing him in to be a third line player, you're probably not going to offer him as much because you're not going to go and empty the cupboards for someone that's going to play on your third line, but you'll empty the cupboards for a Riley Kidney because he's going to be a top line player. Like I think perfect scenario is they're packaged together, hopefully not within the division. Hopefully as far away as possible in the Western Conference.
But hey, if they are going to be in the division, that means they're going all in this year, and it's going to be slim pickings next year. Or
even if it's in Halifax, and even if they have to lose Catafor and McKinnon, they are still going to have Dume. They're still going to have Vidicek, right? They're still going to be good next year. They're still going to have a goalie.
It'll be an actual very 2-3 points competitive.
It'll be
all the way to the division. Then you add St. John, or not St. John, Cape Breton, kind of in that mix because they should be better next year. So I would love to get them out. I'm 1 for 2 in getting players out of the division that hurt the Wildcats repeatedly. Let's talk about our group quickly here.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Darcy was dealt for a 4th rounder to Quebec. It was Valdor's 4th rounder in the 2024 draft, and then I think the shock of the day one. Francesco Iasenza and a 5th in 2024 was sent to Victoriaville for Sherbrooke's 1st in 2023. Moncton's, we get our 3rd back from the Kalmakoff deal, and then a 3rd in 2025. Look, you just heard me say it to Johnny Rogge. You heard me say it the past couple weeks. I wasn't going to move Iasenza if it was me. I think he was your perfect 20-year-old defenseman. Yes, he had his issues every now and then, but as a 20-year-old, I think he was going to be a very solid number 4 defenseman who could log a lot of minutes. But I absolutely don't hate the return to include a first-round pick. That gives us 3 next year. But I don't think we get to the draft with 3, and I don't think we get through this trade period with 3 of them. I think that plus maybe a 3rd or a 2nd in one of the next 2 drafts, I believe acquires a top-scoring forward. I don't know from where. I mean, St. John would make the most sense with the guy I talked about last year, but I don't know if he really puts the puck in the net a whole lot compared to giving a first-rounder up. But I do think it is for a first round. The first-rounder will move for a scoring forward. I think the defense is kind of set where it is. I think Thomas Darcy is the perfect 5'6" defenseman in Quebec that can run a second power play if you need it. I guess we talked about moving defensemen so Ballantyne could play. We said 1 or 2. We got 2.
Yeah.
Just your thoughts on day 1 of the trade deadline period.
Watching that game Friday night and after the game, something caught my eye, and I found it to be very interesting. It's as if he knew he was being traded. After the game, you saw Thomas Darcy kind of hunch over.
Yeah.
As if he just finished like a 3-minute shift.
Yeah.
And I was like, geez, that's weird. You just finished winning a game and now you're hunched over, the last person off the ice. And that kind of struck me. I was like, well, why would he do that? Well,
that's probably
now we know.
Yeah.
Right. So that caught my eye after the game on Friday. I thought that was interesting. And then literally getting home Friday night after the game, you see the tweet from JF Plant saying, that Iasenza is going to Victoriaville. I sent it to you right away, but you were passed out on the couch.
I couldn't read it.
12 hours
my
later.
Eyes, and you'll find out in the next episode. My eyes were this way and that way, and I was passed out. But you'll find out that tomorrow.
That one was a bit of a surprise for me. I had a feeling that he would be traded, but he was kind of number 3 on my list.
Okay.
Right? I thought Darcy was an obvious one. I thought Hamel was probably going to be one. So I thought it would be Hamel and Darcy. But I also said, okay, well, between the two, or between the three, Iasenza has the best value. When I saw it was a first-round pick, I had absolutely nothing wrong with that return. It's Sherbrooke. It's probably going to be the end of the round. And
We've had
thanks to
success before.
Shikutami, who are going to get 2 compensation picks in June, it's probably going to be 19th or 20th overall. It's not bad.
No,
but
we've had success there before.
Yeah, and I agree with you. How long they hold on to that pick, I think it's probably going to be in our possession for maybe 2 weeks at the most.
Yeah.
I don't think we have this pick after January 6th. I believe it is flipped. I believe it's flipped for a forward, just like you said. I wouldn't go to St. John.
No.
I'd go to obviously a Quebec team. So a team that's,
Because you're looking, if you're moving to one, you're looking for an 18-year-old.
You're looking for an
maybe has
18-year-old.
change of scenery that can put the puck in the net.
Yep. You're looking for an 18-year-old forward that maybe starts as you're in a top 9, next year's in a top 6.
Yeah.
And then
Top line.
a top line, right? You want progression. And I think this is a perfect opportunity to bring in someone. At that point, you're looking for someone that was in that same draft class as the Loshings and the Ojets. And so, I mean, go through the list. There's some pretty obvious names that, you're not going to go and get a player that's on a contending team this year. So, with that said, there's not very many. Someone will probably, a certain someone will say, well, why don't you just mention names? Well,
Tampering.
That's it, right? It's the
And
one thing.
That's not our job. Like, we really try at the trade deadline to not go with names because
Well, it's not that. It's also, I don't want to jinx things.
that too.
Because
And we literally don't know if other kids listen to this.
Yeah,
from
that's
other
it.
teams, right? And we don't want to be like, kids in Quebec may find this podcast through whatever. We have no idea. We do have listeners in Quebec. We have parents that listen, so we won't go with names, but we'll make you do the research.
And that's it. One thing I will be keeping an eye on this year is the Wildcats Instagram, because
It's worked before.
it's worked before. Some of these players will go and follow the team that they're being traded on, and they will follow the team. And you're like, well, that's interesting. Why would you suddenly just follow a brand new Q team? Right? It's
yeah.
sadly, that's just, to quote Home Alone here, he's a kid, Marv. Kids are stupid.
Yeah.
That's just the way kids are these days,
Yeah.
right? They'll give away their secrets. How do you think I found out about Cole Bishop, right? How do you think I found out about Jonas Tybell?
Yeah.
How do you think I found out about this guy? How do you think I found out about this guy?
Yeah, we can say we're in the know,
But
as much as we are.
you just
but
got to know where to look.
we're in the know where to look, and that's what
It's
Jeremy does.
It's so easy. And, there's a certain forward who was picked in the first round of that Loshing Filion draft class that's on a team who was supposed to be good this year. We might have had a certain...
Okay, now you're starting to give too many hints.
Well, okay, Jonathan Fauchon, right? Like it's for me, I think he's going to be... He's someone who could fit into the top 6 right away.
yeah.
But at the same time, I think he's a player that, it might cost a little too much. So that's the only thing that kind of concerns me. A player that won't cost as much as Jonathan Fauchon that I really like is Felix Gagnon from Baie-Comeau. He's kind of, Baie-Comeau is going to be very good in 2 years. Same with Moncton. But, we also just traded a defenseman who we thought would be a 20-year-old for us in 2 years.
Yeah.
So there's names out there that could step immediately into a top 9, possibly a top 6, that you could easily win a team over with this first round pick, regardless if it's going to be 18th, 19th, or 20th overall. You'll just have to find the other pieces to make it work. There's been mention Richie Akadinovel, maybe trading a Riley Sampson, maybe trading a Sidney Delorier, trading a Vincent Lagarre, right? Using your cupboards to acquire veteran presence.
Yep.
Right? If you, nothing against these players, but if you don't see a spot for them in your lineup, I'm sure there's a spot for them, but a player like Sidney Delorier, who is an offensive player, if you don't see a spot for him in the top 6 next year or 2 years down the road, trade him.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And it's the Bayerjean from the offseason all over again. I mean,
Bayerjean is a top 6 player in Shawinigan, but he wasn't going to be a top 6 player here.
And we had him. You go back to in fact, yeah, I didn't even have Bayerjean. Oh, this was after the Bowdoin 20. But moving in, it's like, where are you going to slot these guys? And the best time to move for the younger kids is when they haven't played yet. And there's still the expectation when you're getting a veteran presence back of, this guy might be a top 6 in your lineup, but we can't find him. But we would put him in, but we just can't find the room. Go, this and that. What are your 5 untouchables in this draft, or in this moving into this week?
The Valdor first.
No, player wise.
Oh, player wise.
Yeah, I've got.
I don't think anybody is I don't think anybody is untouchable.
Really?
Obviously,
because I got Moran, Grenier, Fortier, Gendron. Who else did I have?
I mean, if somebody offers you 3 first round picks from Moran, are you going to trade him?
Oh yeah, but
see, there's people who say, Gretzky got traded. Anybody can trade it. It's true.
It is.
I didn't think Iasenza would get traded, but he got traded, right? If someone
the
turns
Valdor
around,
one is the only pick you're not trading.
It's if you're bringing in a player that,
because Richie has said he doesn't want to move that trade.
There's only certain players that you would trade that Valdor pick for. Now you're kind of putting me on the spot here, but at the same time, if you're trading that pick, you're trading it for a player that was probably just drafted, that wants out of the team that.
And I'm not trying to find a trade for that. I'm just like, if you're Richie, what are some of the things that you're not going to move on unless it's knocked off your socks?
Yeah,
and it's Moran, Fortier, Gendron, Grenier, Auger. I mean, I had someone ask me about Auger, and I said, look at our record in October and December,
when he's
and
in
look at
line.
our record in November, and that's a guy that if you can avoid it, I don't think they move on. You're maybe moving on some of the younger guys that you obviously talked about. Are we waiting for? Do you think Richie's waiting for the Brabenec trade domino to fall before Barbashev, or do you think he's going to try and move that when he can?
If Barbashev's traded, he's going to be traded before, because they're just not on the same level. Yeah. So the value isn't the same.
Right.
So.
But we talked about, do you have to wait for the Brabenec, for a team that misses on it to get a?
I don't think so. If, for all we know, the Brabenec trade is already done.
True.
Right?
True, yeah.
So it just can't be announced yet.
Yeah.
So if Richie can be like, okay, what are you paying for him? Okay, great. So now I know what I can get for X player.
Yeah.
That trade's already done. It's just a matter of making it official, and it won't be done until the World Juniors is over. Yeah. So if Barbashev is traded, I think you got to start with, maybe I'm being greedy here, but 2 second-round picks. He's really stepped up his game lately. His presence on the ice the past 10 games has been some of the best hockey he's ever played. it's as if he was trying to help his trade value.
Yeah.
So
yeah, if you get a 23 second and a fourth, or two seconds and 24.
well,
I mean, if you fill out the,
you know, it's
you don't always want to fill out the draft board, but right now they got 3 1s, 2 3 5, 2 6, 2 7, 2 8, 2 9s.
that's what you want right now.
Yeah.
Right? I can't remember a time where we've had this many draft picks, right? And
it helps when you hit on the 9ths and 10ths
Mhm.
and 11ths, and they're
Mhm.
impacting on your team, and they're filling out, like, they're filling out your bottom 6. You don't always want to acquire the bottom 6. If you're paying prices, you're paying for top 6 players. So if you can draft those bottom 6 guys, which Richie and his staff have done very well, it works out. You have the cupboards being stocked, which allow you to go get the top 6 players, or the guy that's going to be here for a few years. I'm okay with our goaltending situation. I'm 100% okay with it. 1A, 1B. I mean, they went 5-5, I think, in the past 10 games, which we said, let's look at this next 10 games and use it. And they went alternating 1-1-1. And I mean, if that's kind of what they're doing, or they kind of go 2 or 3 in a row kind of thing, I don't think you move. Obviously, if your socks get knocked off, you do it. But right now, I'm completely content with 1A, 1B, because hopefully you've got a D-core that's going to play together and play every night.
Mm-hmm.
And
the only thing that's missing from this decor right now is that 7th defenseman role. Because right now we have 60.
yeah, right now would be Hackett, probably.
You can get better. I mean, nothing against Ryan Hackett.
No,
but
I
you
said
can-
right now before we move, you got Hackett.
You've got
That's your
Hackett.
7th.
You've got James Richards even.
Yeah.
But you kind of need something better than that.
Yeah.
Nothing against those 2 players.
Yeah.
So because he's still young, but he's going to be coming back from an injury. You probably want to bring him in slowly. Probably start rotating Grenier in and out of the lineup just so he gets back to game shape and game
Hey,
speed.
welcome back from your injury. Here's 14 minutes a night.
That's and you don't want to do
No,
that.
no.
So I think you could probably bring in a 7th defenseman. Please don't have 8 in the second half, for crying out loud. You traded 2 defensemen to
Get away from this.
get to get rid of that problem. You want 7. You want to carry 7, and so I think just to get Grenier back to speed, you rotate him out of the lineup with him and whomever they bring in as another defenseman. Simple as that. There's if it's true that Brabenec is going to Sherbrooke, which I think is, I mean, I've seen it everywhere.
Yeah.
There's been links of Barbashev to Quebec, which is a good fit. If you look at Quebec's roster, I mean, there's not very many, I guess, players that you could immediately bring into town. I mean, you look at someone like you'd have to look at the D, right? And you look at there's a 17-year-old. I'm probably gonna botch his name here, but I want to say Wiener, but it's probably Wenner.
Matthew Wenner.
Matthew Wenner.
I'm gonna go with Wenner.
It's you got to look at if they go Euro for Euro, maybe they go Barbashev for Komarov. Komarov be a defenseman who could play immediately in our lineup.
Yep.
And you could still rotate Grenier in. You're trading
6'3", 180. That's not bad.
You're trading an NHL drafted forward for an NHL drafted defenseman. That's, to me, I'm fine with that. That's another right shot D that joins Ballantyne, that joins Marcel, joins Grenier. You want 3 on the left side, 3 on the right side. Well, to me, that's kind of your fit, right?
Yep.
That's Euro for Euro. There'll be probably some picks involved here and there because, we'd probably have Komarov next year as well because he would be a 19-year-old next year.
So then you're sliding maybe a little higher of a pickup.
Well,
and
that's it, right? And there's just so many.
Yep.
There's just so many kind of things that you need to hit on here, but that to me is kind of where I would start. I would say, okay, well, euro for euro, forward for D. Look at all these D that Quebec have right now.
they got a lot.
Right?
I didn't realize how many they had.
They've got 9 defensemen on their roster right now with adding Darcy, right? Vincent Murray, he's an 06. Are they going to send him back to midget? Like it's
Winner 05.
It's backed up back there, right? So I mean, you add a forward, take away a defenseman, that's going to bring it out a 9D. You're still in trouble, but at the same time, you're going euro for euro, which is, you don't see it happen very often, but it's doable.
Yep. Yeah, and like I've always said, can never have too many defensemen when you're going for a championship because you're one injury away, and you want guys that can play, whether it's minutes or power play or whatever. You need guys to play. I guess just to end it, 320-year-olds. Probably this 320-year-olds that will stay. And look, we're going to get Loshing back, which is going to help the top 6 as well out of that. But you can always say if a trade comes through, we understand. 320-year-olds probably stick with the same 320-year-olds we have and just kind of roll with it.
I think so. I mean, Hamel's really a leadership guy back there.
I remember the other question I wanted.
And Baudouin, I mean, what else can you say about Baudouin?
Yeah.
He's been a huge help. Him playing with Mercier, I've never seen Mercier play so good. Their chemistry is off the charts right now. And that's what you need.
Yeah.
And LaBelle, I think LaBelle has value. Baudouin also has value. But that's what I mean. I say, like, there's not anybody that's untouchable, right? If someone says, okay, well, we'll give you this,
mm-hmm.
and it's too good to pass up, you're not going to pass up on it.
Yeah.
Right?
I guess that untouchable's wrong. I guess core, right? Like, who's your 4 or 5 core moving into it is
to me.
It's the 4 or 5 we named.
That's me as a GM. If I was given a price and it blew my socks off, and then also lit my pants on fire, I would take it.
There's a lot going on.
I'm not. I'm like. Oh my God, what's his face in that movie Draft Day, the football movie?
Kevin Costner.
I
can't remember what his name is, but
I will do anything.
Sonny,
that's it. I would do anything to make a move, right? If the deal,
right move.
If the deal was right,
yeah,
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
It's as Rich even said, when he was telling Iasenza and Darcy about these trades, there was emotion, right? And you can tell, like, they've been here for 3 years, and but that's life, right? Hockey's a business,
yeah,
and you've got to do whatever you need to do to make your team better. I'm not going to trade Morin. Okay, I'm not trading Morin.
No,
unless I'm getting the
world,
the farm, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
it has to
there's
make sense for your club.
There's
too.
untouchables.
Yeah,
but there's also that other part of the business that says, okay, well, if it's too good to pass up,
mm-hmm.
right? It's
yeah.
So that's what I mean when I say I don't believe in untouchables.
So we need probably another defenseman being on the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
There's another defenseman that left a Quebec team that is just kind of hanging around.
Nope.
Probably won't
not doing
spend a lot for him.
Not doing it.
No, you're not?
No. You're talking about Lane Hinkley?
Yeah. No, yeah. He's the defenseman that's out there that isn't going to cost you a lot.
There's too many links to him in Cape Breton right now.
Yeah.
There's Sylvain Couturier is just going to bring players he drafted to Bathurst. That's Sylvain Couturier in a nutshell.
Yeah.
He brought in Zach Bigger.
Yeah.
Well, he drafted him to Bathurst.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
What's he going to do? Like, go and trade for Riley Kidney and Jacob Melanson?
Imagine.
God.
Imagine.
Andrew Barrington would lose his mind.
Imagine.
But
no.
But it's not going to happen. Lane Hinkley, yeah, he's got Cape Breton written all over him. I think he's got family in Cheticamp, which is literally Cape Breton. So there's just way too many connections to the Eagles right now that if he ends up anywhere else, I'll be surprised. If he's in Moncton, I think I'll be upset. I'll be pissed. Yeah. Let's put it that way. I'll be pissed because Iasenza, Lane Hinkley.
Oh yeah.
right? There's just no comparing. Like if you're trading one of your,
But you can't you can't and fans will compare, but you can't compare it because we thought Isenza was going to stick on the roster, and it was a deal that knocked his socks
but if you're
off,
trading
so,
Iasenza to bring in Lane Hinkley, you're
not trading him
downgrading your team.
no, but you're not trading him to bring him in. If you can't find one and the price is okay, as to bring Grenier around slowly.
I would rather play Grenier 68 games a year than trade for Lane Hinkley. That's nothing against Lane Hinkley.
No.
I'm sorry,
I'm just
Dave.
saying that's-
Like Dave, if you're listening to the show, Dave Hinkley, I'm sorry, but like that's just my personal opinion.
Yep.
And I know you follow the show. I'm not sure if you listen, but you know, Mr. Hinkley, that's how I am. I have nothing against Lane as a player or as a person, but I just
think for what you could get him for, it's not the worst move as a 6'7" defenseman to allow him in and on them.
I'll pay a 10th round pick for him. But he's
not going for a 10th.
He's eating popcorn every night. I'm playing Grenier ahead of him. Former first round pick hasn't really lived up to expectations. Here's a 10th round pick, Drummondville.
Yeah.
But tell your buddy he's sitting in the stands every night.
Well, he would play until Grenier was healthy, and that's how you slowly bring him in.
Hopefully, Grenier's healthy after the break.
Yeah.
But that's my mindset on Lane Hinkley.
Yeah.
And you know, if he ends up in Moncton and it's more than I'll be generous, an 8th round pick.
That's where I was at.
Sorry.
No, that's
fire me.
GM that makes the trades and fire me. No, that's the name that I don't want to say is the cheapest acquisition you could make, but I mean that was just one that.
No, I know where you're coming from.
You gotta talk about it, but
let Cape Breton overpay for him.
Absolutely. All right, that'll do it for the Maritime Division Podcast Roundtable Trade Deadline Annual Show, whatever you want to call it. Look, this was a lot of fun doing it week by week by week. Next year, I should be able to get this thing on before the trade deadline happens, so we don't have to talk about a few trades on. But obviously, Jamie Tozer from St. John, Corey Arsenault from Charlottetown, Willie Paloff from Halifax, Pat McNeil from Cape Breton, Cedric Blanet from Blainville, and Johnny Rocket from Bathurst. Thank you to all you guys for joining us each week so we could give a little bit of a preview. Join us tomorrow as we've got our regular show comes out, recapping just the week. And then next week, the 28th, we've got our mega Christmas. We're looking at first half. We're looking at expectations in the second half. So it'll be a good couple weeks. All right. Thank you, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow.